Well, it's really interesting because we looked at it in the first place, and what we found initially were a lot of people who were on the social networking sites were not buyers. I mean, they may have been fans, but they were not hardcore fans. They weren't ticket buyers, and we were very concerned because obviously we looked at them as as a great marketing tool, a way to really get our viral programs going and really reach the grassroots fan. And we saw it a little bit as a bully pulpit because many of these people would have very, very strong opinions. So initial reaction was to kind of steer away from it. Then it was like, no, that's not the right answer. So we started getting involved and embracing it, and we actually had our own people, to be honest with you, embarrassed a little bit to say it, but we had our own people go on incognito, and we would get these negative flows of criticism against us. And we would all of a sudden plant one of these stories, and boom, it would turn around in a heartbeat. Oh yeah, I suppose that is the team perspective. Yeah, that's fair enough. So we started to monitor them to get a pulse of a group of fans who weren't necessarily our buyers, but it points out to us the main thing that we looked at them for was these are people who are watching us on TV or radio, reading about us in the paper, but not buying tickets, and in many cases not coming. How do we get them to come? And so we started to, do a lot more where we would give credentials to bloggers and treat them as though they were a legitimate part of the media. That we would do a lot more focus groups, we would do podcasts, we would do chats, and we would open ourselves up to the social networking. And I think as it's gone now, one of my clients, 2 Dog Software, is a top social networking company in the States, and most of our teams don't have the expertise. So what they tend to do now is they go to a company like 2 Dog Software that is a soup to nuts complete provider. It's not a tool. And they know how to market and bring traffic to the site. They know how to deal with the content. They know how to police it. A good example, and this is a true story, was and I can't tell you the name of the client, particularly if this were to go out in the blog all around the world, but a major client had a penis on its, on its social network site, on the league site. And Kathy Jacobelli of 2 Dog Software said to the commissioner, "You've got a penis on your site that's been there for 2 weeks, and no one's policed it and taken it down." So all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, how's that for brand consistency? So, does the organization have the resources to really work with the social network site, get the content, get it exciting, get it compelling, work and build the network, service the network, and let it really grow as a viral community? Very often not in sports. So using third-party vendors like 2 Dog Software is a real good solution. And then the other part of it is most of us don't know how to sell and monetize advertising on electronic media and new media. And that company does. They'll sell advertising for it, and they know how to get that money back. So I think it's an exciting tool. I think it's a very exciting, it's an exciting venue that we need to do a better job than we have done in the past. We have to deal with the issue of video and content because we're very concerned about getting that out in the public domain and losing our copyright and our protections on that, particularly for video on demand, particularly for highlights and a lot of other things like that. So it's a complex subject that I think we've learned something about. We're going down the road. We've got a long way to go, but we're embracing it now rather than saying, oh my God, keep it at distance.
So just to summarise, you'd say that organisations should not ignore social media, but they shouldn't really do it halfway. You can't kind of dip your toe in the water.
I think dipping your toe in the water is the worst thing you can do. Because then I think people look to the side and they say it's got nothing, and they don't come back. I think if you're going to do it, you do it right, either with a full commitment from the organization. Most teams don't have the resources to do that. So using a third-party turnkey solution provider that's not just a tool, like 2 Dog Software, shameful plug for my client, but
that's fine.
Is the way to go. And then they can do everything soup to nuts for you.
So, and looking at these types of providers, there's very few of them around. So 2 Dog Software, I mean, looking at outsourcing that type of thing to someone who's not from the local area, is that something that comes into play?
No, people are not concerned by it at all. I mean, it's like people working from home. What's the difference if you're working from a northern suburb in a city 10 miles from your downtown office, versus you across the country? I mean, let's face it, today everything's internet, it's email, it's IP protocol, it's Skype, it's, the world is flat, as Thomas Friedman likes to say in his book, and I think people, as long as they get a reliable provider that does the job, they don't care where it is.
Excellent. So just to give a final plug, 2 Dog Software, what's the...
Twodogsoftware.com.
Okay.
And it's the number 2. You know,
Okay.
Go online and look at it, Google it, and Kathy Jacobelli is the president and principal of the company, and she works harder than any human being I've ever met in my life to satisfy our clients and to really build networks. Detroit Pistons, Palace Sports and Entertainment, had a previous provider, and I forget what their network site numbers now are, but within 3 months I think it approaches 7,000 people that are on there regularly, really interacting as a community. It's huge how big sports can be as a social networking site, and I think when you add in the passion of football and all the different codes of football here in Australia or in Europe and the rest of the world in Asia, I think you'll find even bigger social network sites.
Yeah.